Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Cole. Sunday evening, August 23rd, moving into week 2 of Humanities 2333 for the fall term of 2020. Everyone, this week we have on the syllabus the class notes for Lecture 2 on logic, and that's going to lead up to a quiz on some of that material next week. I've gotten an announcement out on that. We'll take the quiz Tuesday the 1st, September 1st. And more than likely we would chat online the previous evening, probably at 7 o'clock Central Time, Monday, August 31st. Watch for an announcement on that later this week or over the weekend. But more than likely we will chat Monday before we take the quiz Tuesday. Now, in the Lecture 2 notes, you have a sort of outline of the kind of material you would study if you took a course in logic for an entire term, which you could do if you were studying at one of the big research institutions where they have a big philosophy department and more course offerings in philosophy. You could spend a whole term on logic. And I am just trying to introduce you to some of what you might encounter in a course like that. Pay attention to a few things. The difference between deduction and induction. Be sure you understand that. Deduction gives you a more certain conclusion than an inductive argument, but we still use both of them all the time. The inductive argument is less absolutely certain than the deductive argument, but be familiar with both of those concepts. Induction and deduction, be sure you understand. I also tried to introduce you to symbolic logic. Now again, if you took a course in logic for an entire term, you would be asked to work logic problems. And so I try to show you how propositions are symbolized in logic, and I give you an example of the kind of word problem you might be asked to solve. That's in the PowerPoint presentation that accompanies the lecture notes. Now, we're not going to do that, but I just want to give you an example of what you might be called upon to do if you were taking a course in logic for an entire term. There's a set of rules and symbols, a set of 19 rules, which you might be required to memorize if you were taking a course in logic for an entire term. Some of them are very similar to theorems in mathematics that you might be familiar with. It's very similar to mathematics. Now, we're not going to ask you to memorize that or actually work logic problems. We're just trying to expose you to what you might encounter if you do further work at another institution in material like this. Now, for the quiz, I'm most interested in informal fallacies. The material for the quiz on the 1st will be entirely about informal fallacies. Now, informal fallacies are really, what it really means is fallacies that are committed in rhetoric. And we find these all the time. Probably all of us have committed such fallacies from time to time. They can be found in the media, television, the internet, in politics, in advertising. They're all over the place. What we're going to ask you to do is familiarize yourself with some of the more important informal fallacies that you'll most often run into. Then on the quiz, you'll be given 10 statements, and you'll be asked, what fallacy is this statement an example of? And you'll have 4 choices. So you need to have some familiarity with the various fallacies, and they fall into various categories. And that is discussed, I believe, in the last 3 or 4 pages of the Lecture 2 notes. And the announcement for your quiz mentioned several other places you can refer to study for the quiz on the 1st. Okay, I've sent you a little fallacies exercise. Can you spot the informal fallacies? I believe there are 10 examples there, and the answers are to be found at the very end of the lecture. Lecture 2 class notes. Okay, so for the quiz on the first, we are most concerned with informal fallacies. You want to try to familiarize yourself with some of the informal fallacies that come up the most often. And then you're going to have a quiz in which we're going to see whether you can recognize those fallacies in statements that we give to you. There will be 10 items, 2.5 points each for a 25-point quiz. Each item will give you 4 alternatives. You read a statement and you're asked, of which fallacy is this an example? Okay, and that's what your quiz will consist of on Tuesday, September 1st, all day. And we will chat more than likely the night before. So that's what we are doing in week 2 of Humanities 2333. You might have heard that here in Baton Rouge, we're facing 2 hurricanes back to back, more than likely this week. And I'll be dealing with that this week, but I hope that all that will be over and done with so that we can chat on Monday the 31st before our quiz on Tuesday, September 1st. So watch for an announcement about the chat, and we've already announced that quiz 1 will take place on Tuesday, September 1st. One of 3 25-point quizzes we need to get in before the midterm exam in early October. So be working on the Lecture 2 class notes on logic, especially the informal fallacies. And we'll be speaking to you again next weekend and having an online chat with you shortly after that before our first quiz. So thanks a lot, take care, and get to work on informal fallacies.